Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us. Tim Aker is a member of Parliament for the UK Independence Party, and he'll be talking about this refugee crisis as we saw Cameron over the weekend, or yesterday, I guess, saying we'll take in at least, 24,000 people into Britain. And Member of Parliament Tim Aker is with us now. Mr. Aker, good to talk to you, sir. How are you?
Hello, Laura. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm watching this thing unfold, and I agree with the Germans quoted over the weekend who said this is going to change Germany forever. This is going to fundamentally alter the German culture, landscape. Obviously, the question of religiosity is very important. But you all in Britain have already seen this happen because of the rise of the Middle Eastern population there.
Well, we're borderless Britain, but only a few hours ago, in the European Parliament, hundreds of MEPs voted to give illegal immigrants the right to vote in local and European elections. There is something wrong in Europe with this sort of cult-like fantasy that we must get rid of national borders, that we must welcome everyone. And I'm looking at my own constituency in Thurrock, and I have 6,500 people on the housing waiting list. And what position can I have to say to the people who elected me, who I'm responsible for, that, sorry guys, I'm not going to put you first, I'm going to put other people first? No. Each representative has to put their people first. They are public servants. You know, if I'm working for you, Laura, and I tell you, well, sorry, Laura, I've actually done some business for, Joe Soap down the road, are you going to punish me? Of course you would. But what we've got now is a crop of politicians who consider themselves more citizens of the world in the hippie fashion rather than actual representatives and public servants that is destroying whole countries. It's ridiculous.
You know what I kept thinking?
I can't explain it.
Yeah, Mr. Aker, you know what I kept thinking over the weekend? Imagine if your parliamentary elections were this week.
Oh, don't.
Can you
I
imagine?
lost by 800 votes.
Yeah.
I lost by 800 votes.
Right.
And would have been one of the UKIP MPs in Parliament. And I'm getting people coming up to me and saying, Tim, I'm sorry, my pen hovered over the ballot paper and I voted Conservative because, I wanted to stop Labour and control immigration. It's like, oh my God, I'm visiting these people now that we've got the immigration figures that Cameron has let in more net immigrants than Blair ever did and Labour ever did. And these people wanted to keep out Labour. It's sort of blue Labour. It's one party now. We're in a corporatist, pro-European Union, anti-democratic political environment. And I can only see support for UKIP growing and growing. And exactly what you said, people who are outside of the establishment saying, well, hang on, the people aren't being listened to. The people are the masters. They're the ones who are going to take charge.
Well, when we see the numbers, and just a few minutes ago on the BBC, migrants' sudden dash at the Hungary border, as of course they're smart enough to, they're seeing these, or hearing of the accounts of Germany's welcoming, and now they're going to have 800,000 just this year alone in Germany, and promises to take in 500,000 a year, which means again people think they're going to remain in Germany. Well, no, they go everywhere. People don't understand. It's a new EU.
Exactly. Well, the thing with the European Union is that all the German government need to do is give every single person coming to Germany an EU passport. That gives them the right to go anywhere. It's as if somebody, if you're in a whole political union in North and South America, and somebody turns up in Honduras, and the government of Honduras give them a Honduran passport, and that gives them the right to settle in Nevada or Washington, wherever. It's ridiculous. We are in a political union with 27 other member states that have fundamental free movement. And we have in the United Kingdom certain benefits which people have paid into, British families over the generations have paid into an investment. And people can turn up and from day one start claiming. And that is wrong. And people are waking up to that. I mean, if only the general election had been a few months later, we'd probably had a UKIP government that would have put a stop to this. But we've got an opportunity within the next 2 years maximum to have that referendum to leave the European Union. And I wish everyone listening now would support us, would send us all sorts of support to say, look, guys, the European Union is not for you. The future is independent, sovereign states controlling your borders, working cooperatively with the rest of the world, because you know what? We're going into this new world where nation states are disappearing, corporatism and globalism are taking over, and it's causing chaos. I mean, you've even got a situation where ISIS are saying they're going to use this refugee crisis to put terrorists on the European
continent. Oh, but it's only going to be a few, Mr. Aker. Only a handful. We know a handful.
I'm too cynical, Laura.
Yeah. How many did it take to blow up the tube in Britain? I mean, how many?
Handful.
Yeah, just a handful of people, and a couple of backpacks.
And that's it. And you know, we are borderless. We are unable to vet people, and the government were quite unclear. They're saying that we'll take 20,000 refugees over the next 5 years from camps. Well, does that mean they're dependents? I mean, you've got a debate over in America of the anchor babies. Well, you know, if we take in one, do we have to take in 12 family members? I mean, nobody is saying anything about this. And this, you know, we're expected to believe David Cameron as Prime Minister, who has overseen net immigration that dwarfed that of the Labour Party.
It's huge.
Who promised to say he would get net immigration down to the tens of thousands, and now it's at 330,000.
Do you know?
I do not believe. I have to check. I have to look out the window to check what the weather is. If he told me it was raining, I mean, I can't trust this man. No one should.
Everyone should understand, by the way, that Mr. Aker is. You know, you're a young guy. I mean, you're not some old crusty British politician. What are you, 30?
Boy, I turned 30 on May the 23rd.
30 years old. Yeah, you're a young man. And what is your sense today? I've seen a couple of polls from Britain. Maybe it was one of the YouTube YouGov polls done about leaving the EU. Where do you think the people are today? And obviously, this current crisis has to be terrible for the pro-EU side of the equation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've got a constituency of rising youth unemployment, of people who can't afford housing. I mean, when you look at what first-time buyers in the United Kingdom to actually buy your property, I mean, an Englishman's home is his castle, and you have to be into your 40s to afford that castle. It's becoming ridiculous. Private rents are going up, social housing is declining, and there is hopelessness. And what UKIP are saying is that we will take back our country, we'll sort out immigration, we will actually do something, you know, novel and like put the British people first because they're the ones that employ us and they're the ones that will kick us out if we're not doing what we want. And the message is for everyone in Britain listening to this, and I know you've got a lot of British listeners, is to join us. Come and join us. We are going on a nationwide tour to say to the British people, this is your once-in-a-generation chance to get this country back, to free us from the European Union, and all of these nutters in the European Parliament who would vote today to give illegal immigrants the vote. Take your country back. Democracy, you know, Ronald Reagan said democracy is only one generation away from extinction, and he could have not been more right.
So is that a done deal now? Is that a done deal with the illegals in Britain voting?
It failed just. It failed just. But
okay.
Several Labour MEPs, and I saw their lights. Every MEP has a light which indicates how they vote. Mm-hmm. I saw lots of the Labour MEPs have green lights for yes on that. And I'm going to check the voting list later Tim, to make sure they haven't changed it. But
and let me just ask a question. What I think is happening, we're talking to Tim Aker, a member of Parliament, UKIP. What I think the Labour Party is after is the same thing the Democratic Party here is after, which is a replacement electorate. They want to bring people in who they can co-opt, who will be on the government dole, who will be dependent on social services, and then thus be dependent upon the Labour Party for representation. And we see that with the Democrats as well. Is that you allow these open borders, bring in more people, and perhaps create a new constituency that is utterly dependent on the Democrats and identifying with the Democrats vis-a-vis government largesse and so forth. That seems to be what's happening in Britain.
But there is an incredible opportunity, because what we've seen in Britain is a big shift of voters from the Labour Party to UKIP, because you have a lot of workers who are being underpriced. They're being undercut because the minimum wage in the United Kingdom is so many times higher than that in Romania and Bulgaria. So big business and big corporations are going out. They're sending search parties out across the European Union to bring in people who will work for buttons.
No, but Cameron said he was going to cut back on that. I saw one of his speeches. They're going to cut back on the recruitment. By the way, we have a new soundbite for you to play from David Cameron from yesterday.
We will continue with our approach of taking refugees from the camps and from elsewhere in Turkey, Jordan and Lebanon. This provides refugees with a more direct and safe route to the United Kingdom, rather than risking the hazardous journey to Europe, which has tragically cost so many lives.
Yeah, I guess instead of going through the tunnel, they're going to just be brought in.
Well, exactly. I mean, Nigel Farage called for the army to be sent to Calais, and David Cameron sends Theresa May. I know who stands up for Britain more. David Cameron's overseen borderless Britain. He got lucky. He had the Scottish National Party to scare people into voting Conservative to stop them. But many people now are seeing that it was a complete con trick, and David Cameron puts the con in Conservative Party. I mean, they don't stand for anything anymore, and lots of people now are abandoning the old traditional parties and coming to UKIP because they offer a new, fresh alternative.
But he won handily. He won handily in this year's elections, though, Cameron. Remember, he sounded so conservative, though. It's funny how UKIP had that effect on him. He sounded so conservative, and there was this rise of kind of anti-establishment voters in Britain as well, because Cameron was sounding this new note of toughness on the EU and toughness on immigration, and we're going to take care of business here in Britain, and it all sounded very enticing.
Well, there's an election coming up because David Cameron sounds conservative. And the minute the ballot boxes are put away, he doesn't. The people have been fed a complete con trick, and they're seeing now with the statistics, the immigration, the Syrian refugees, and the fact that, we live in borderless Britain, but they have the one chance to take back control of our country by voting to leave the European Union when that referendum comes. And that referendum has only come about because of Nigel Farage and because of the UK Independence Party.
No doubt about it. Tim Aker, 30 years old, Member of Parliament from the UKIP Party, UK Independence Party. It's great to have you on, Tim. Come back anytime.
My pleasure.